plan when we get married. We plan when we buy a car, a house, and when we have our children. We even plan how we save and when we want to retire. Throughout life, we pre-plan for most important things. Doesn't it make sense to do the same for our funeral arrangements? It may seem unpleasant, but it's just good planning. With expert advice from Belgrove's family of professionals, they can help. Call or visit them first in San Fernando, Point Fortin, Chaguanas, Trin City, and Tobago, or check their website www.belgroves.com or call them 223-2178, 223-2178.
And we do want to remind you that even though a lot of other businesses have been closed during this time, Belgroves is still up and running, of course. And if you do have any questions, we will remind you of this number before we close off the program today. And on behalf of Belgroves, we've been having this program every Wednesday at the same time, where I am joined by Dr. Jennifer Rouse, and she is the former director in the Division of Aging in the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. She's a gerontologist who has been bringing this topic to life. I really do have to say, I am not even a part of the age group with which she is targeting, but I have so many questions because it's more than just age associated, it is life associated. So it's such a pleasure to have her on the air with us this morning. Good morning, Dr. Rouse.
And a pleasant morning to you, Rihanna. And how are you?
And I'm doing okay. You know, it's always more pleasant if you would have been here with us, but we are dealing with the changes that have come with the times, and we have been addressing a lot of those changes and how we are dealing with it as a society and as a aging society as well. So if we brief on what we spoke about last week, because our conversations have been flowing so beautifully, and and that's why it's so important for our listeners to, if you are interested, don't miss a segment, because they all flow into each other. And we spoke about the process we targeted this single elderly woman. Maybe she's widowed, maybe she and her husband no longer live together, maybe different scenarios lead to people living alone. And talking about hoarding and talking about those lifestyle changes and et cetera, et cetera. And now we wanted to get into the legal aspect of getting to that age, as well as any other topic of conversation that you wanted to emphasize for us and highlight for us that is important at that age.
And to keep the sequence, we left off last week on the whole question of self-management, when we cleared how to go about the clutter and what different types of clutter we have. And I'm glad you identified that this single elderly woman could be through divorce, could be through widowhood, could be through unmarried. And many of the unmarried don't even have children. Mm-hmm. So in terms of self-management, if we had to start, because we're moving up towards the trust and the will, that will be the end point for this segment. So for those who are widowed, some of them hold on to the clothes and belongings of the widower. Mm-hmm. They don't seem to be able to clear the items that belong to that person, especially, of course, if they were very, very attached emotionally to that person. So if it is, some who are listening are in that target, this is the time. If you feel that you can do it bit by bit, you don't take all in one fell swoop. You may go to the closet where his clothes are and start folding them. This is how you begin to put closure, because you have to cut the loss. You have to let go of the loss. You still remember him in the good times, all the good times you have, but in terms of clearing the space, you will remain attached. Mm-hmm. And that is not healthy.
And if I may interject, as we're mentioning this attachment, and we're being as honest as we can be, that's all we can ever be. When we compare relationships that have happened maybe a decade ago, or even 30 years ago to relationships now, the quality of relationships have been very different, because in a lot of scenarios now, no one is forcing anyone to get married. Arranged marriages, they still exist, but not in the commodity that they used to. So a lot of people are choosing partners now based on their choice, based on wanting to be with this person. And that means the quality of that relationship and conversation is changing. So in the past, I'm not saying a woman didn't love her husband, but maybe her relationship with him might have been a little bit different. And there may have been more financial dependency on that person than emotional dependency or emotional attachment. And as we are dealing with relationships in today's world, I do think that, people still, all relationships are different, let's just put it that way. But if we're looking at that emotional attachment, people are much more emotionally attached now to that partner that they have chosen, that they have spent their life with, that they may or may not have had children with and share finances, etc. So the hoarding, I think, may be more likely now than it may have been back then.
And again, that is speculative because we don't have the evidence,
yes.
But you're just going on what you just said. But also symbolic of those seniors who we are addressing, and the relationships they had, the marital ones who are now widowed. Most times, and it still exists traditionally, that women still tend to marry men who are older than they are. But even that has changed somewhat in terms of how love is and how they love. But we are looking at the fact that widowhood, and then some. And okay, so let's stick to the widowhood. And in terms of putting closure to that emotional pain of missing him and whatever, you are missing the very moment of your life. You are not in the present because you are in the past, and you are longing for the presence of this person who will never be there again. Some even keep some of his garments, in this case, to just get the smell of his clothes. All of this they go through. And some of us may chuckle and say, what's wrong with her? But that's how they cope with the letting go. But they still hold on to the items, the clothing and what have you. So this is a good time, as any, that you are forced now to be housebound and clearly shut in more than you would like. And it's a time with very much sentimental notions to start folding the things and putting them carefully, because you're doing it with a love and the emotion that goes with it. And you can take one drawer at a time. Then you take one half of the closet at a time. Then his items. You're not reaching the point of giving away just yet. You're just clearing the space. And so that at that point, that is when, and even photographs, certain photographs that you can remove now from the space. And when you reach that point and you know that you can do this lovingly and emotionally too, then you know you are at a space now where you feel, wait a minute, I didn't even cry. I didn't weep. We don't use the word cry for that time now. This is weeping. I'm not weeping as I used to every day since his demise or his passing. So this is a good measure at this point for your internal state to know I'm getting there. Only the person who is in it can know it. Bob Marley used to say, he who feels it knows it. So it is unfair for anybody who has not experienced this to be judgmental and harping on why is she taking so long to get over this, and especially if they didn't like the person that she was with, and all of these things to crowd your head with the noise. So that's one. So this is how we get in the emotional space clear and the emotional clutter that might be there. And then you begin to see people differently. You begin to engage with others, irrespective of gender, more joyfully and hesitatingly at first, but more joyfully, because you are clearing your internal space that can now, as we said with the magnet, attract like minds, like persons, even if you go to the gym and start back living. Because we have so many are dying while they are still alive and don't realize they have disengaged.
And Dr. Ross, do you think that our citizens who fall into this particular this category of character, do you think that they deal with it in a healthy way? Do you think that they do practices and activities that are encouraging mindfulness?
Some do quite well, especially if they have a close, trusted friend that they, and this is another point that is important. As we get older and going up the chain, not just 60, but the older ones in the 70s and 80s especially, you find more from the 70s, you find you are trying to reconnect with persons from your school days who have come through with you through your working life. And based on your earnestness, you will get some contact information to get back in touch with them, because you can relate to them historically and otherwise, and certain experiences that you all might have shared. And that brings comfort. And it is a good time to mention, too, even if you didn't have those schoolmates, because remember, as you get much older, you are losing persons along the way. You might have buried children that you didn't expect to do. But you are losing those friends because through burial now, through death, because of age and illness and all these other experiences that you didn't cater for but are real. And those are the important ones, because what they have discovered in America, there's a program that they started. As a matter of fact, it started itself, because when you see things happen, that's what drives policy. And you find that the young old, they just noticed that the young old can be caregivers of the oldest old. We went through those ranges where the young old are 60 to 74, the old are 75 to 84, and the oldest old are the 85s and over. So the elders are those who are over 85. What they have recognized with some persons who are afflicted with Alzheimer's, that when the young old engage with the oldest old, you hear them laughing, because even though they are the oldest old, they might have still been in the same historical cohort where they might have experienced a war, even if it is post-World War II or whatever, but they have areas that are common, because it is only at these times you recognize more similarities than differences. It's a pity we don't know all of this when we were in our 20s, where we harp on what is different rather than our similarities. And you find now what they discovered, what they use now in America and I think Canada, that when they have like Meals on Wheels programs, they engage some of the persons, the elders with Alzheimer's at the homes to help them pack the boxes, because they engage them in all manner of ways, and even in having conversation with some of the young old who are neighbors. This is now outside of the institutional scenario. Especially this is good for the men, because we tend to always forget the elderly men.
Yes.
We harp on the women. Yes, this is a woman's program, but the woman that men love. I think that's the slogan.
Yes, it is.
And so you have to engage them. Now, what happens in the difference with elderly men and elderly women, elderly men tend to remarry or even get back in a marital kind of relationship, more so than the elderly woman. We will leave that for when we are dealing with how the family has changed and the changes that have occurred due to this aging process. So we know what the widow can do to bring closure. And we know, of course, you have those, and the divorcee is also in another kind of pain. They have to start clearing that psychic debris of any hate, of any animosity that might still be in their system, because they are poisoning themselves by going over all the things that went wrong. And especially if children are there, sometimes it flows over into how you treat them, which is unfair to them. So this is time now for a lot of introspection and a lot of clearing of clutter, because we are aiming at finding someone while you are of sound mind in your young old years between 60 and 74, you have to know that just in case we were speaking about those who have inherited, the ones who were the unmarrieds that might have inherited properties with land and house and whatever, this is the time you have to now begin to say, now I can't carry this to my grave with me.
Yes.
And just keeping it there. And if I have no will, then it means it could even go back to the state. Is this what you want? How would you like to be remembered? And this does not require media and publicity, very quietly. And which is what happened with some of them who came in to me for that same kind of counsel while I was director. And I would say, well, would you like to, if you have a house, would you like to put in your will that you would like this used for a particular kind of service? There are some who want it used as a halfway house.
Yes.
Some may want it used as a place for seniors to come and exercise and do whatever they have, but it must only be for seniors' usage. Another one can be for battered women. This is the time you have to think now and document, because a will must be written, so that you have to document what you would like to do with this estate, because these properties comprise your estate. So before you reach to the actual part of writing, you have to know from your gut, what would you like? How would you like to dispense of all of this as part of clearing the clutter which is coming out of the overarching self-management?
So would you say
I want the listeners to walk this with us.
Would you say
it
the
is
first
all coming
step
out of self-management?
Would you say that the first step is making the choice to make a will, or deciding personally where you would like things to be, or should you contact someone first before you start?
Well, listen to what some have done. Mm-hmm. Some have started to, and I'm deliberately not going to use the word of get rid of. Mm-hmm. They are trying now to dispense of parts of this estate while they are alive, so that even when they reach to the point of the will, it will be so short without having to bother the bank, etc., because you would have already in your mind delineated what exactly you are going to be doing with, if you had insurance policies that might have matured or still have as a life insurance can still go on paying, how you are going to deconstruct in some instances, delegate in some instances, but before we get there, where is this trusted person?
Yes.
That you can rely on, hear the word, that you can count on, will execute and carry out your wishes to the letter. Mm-hmm. That is not as easy as it sounds.
No, it's not.
What some of our seniors want to do is put in their will, if they do make one, their friends of their same age. Guess what? Many times those persons they may name as the executor or executrix either pass on before them or become infirm.
Yes.
So from now, when you are looking down the road, who are you living a life of seclusion, total disengagement from society, neighborhood, community, where you do not have even young people around you, whether it's nephew, niece, neighbor, whatever, that you have an excellent relationship with? Just that intergenerational link brings joy to the heart. And so this is a time to really get going in a conscious effort to socialize with younger people who could eventually be your executor or executrix and carry out your bequests. Because when you are gone, there's nobody this person can ask for anything. So this is where the trust has to come. So before we come there are so many different ways. If you are of sound mind and you're already feeling, oh Lord, go to the bank, it's such a hassle, and the lining up, even though they have maybe seniors to come earlier, it's still a hassle. So you may want at that time, which is what some have done, go and get a power of attorney. And this is where the legal part comes in. And what our seniors who are listening must understand, that a power of attorney, there are two types, a specific one and a general one. And if our seniors don't know, most times they just go and make a general one, giving this person total power over every transaction you engage in. That could be dangerous if you have sound mind and have a feeling in the tummy, as they say, that says, I wonder.
Yeah. Am I making the right choice?
Am I making the right choice? And giving them so much largesse. So you may say, in this power of attorney, I want a specific one. I only want this person to go to the bank every month to see about withdraw from this particular bank. You may have 3 bank accounts, but you only want this one to go to Republic Bank, Independence Square, so. And when you do that, of course, the bank will see your copy of the power of attorney, that you are the person vested to do this. And that same person might be the one you have you will want to see about your car, because you no longer want to drive on the road. Many seniors, especially women, do not want to drive anymore, or some of them really can't drive anymore because of mobility issues, mobility challenges. They may want these kind of services, again, based on trust. A younger person to drive them.
Yes.
Because the car needs to be used. If it just stays parked all day, all night, it will deteriorate and you have to get rid of it. So these are the areas of where services come in, where you need someone helping with the cleaning, where you need, and these are the little things that can start, because sometimes what we see happening, the ones who are unmarried with no children, they are the ones that end up sometimes at a last-ditch effort, leaving everything for the church, or they may leave it for a neighbor. Well, you know, they have some very eccentric ones that are filthy rich that leave it for their dog.
Oh, boy.
You heard of those?
Yes, of course.
I hope they're not in the majority, of course. But they leave it with very specific instructions, and these are millions of dollars. But you can delegate so much to so many charities. All of this has to come from your inner space or inner condition of how you think, how you have lived. And this is why it is so important how you have lived up until this point, because that does not change over time. That becomes your character. That becomes your persona. That becomes who you are. So if you end up at this point being stingy, as they say, you don't want to give anything away. You don't even want to think of parting with this, even in death. So some even write a will and ask that they be buried with all the items.
Yes.
Put that down in the grave with them. That's how eccentric it can get.
And I want you to hold on to that
average
thought.
Normal.
Yes, I want you to hold on to that thought, because
Sure.
our time has escaped
But
us,
you
of
see
course.
where we are going
Yes.
incrementally, seeing the different ways in which the unmarried will handle the widowed and the divorced. All three are at 3 completely different emotional spaces.
And I really
So we will
appreciate that
pick
you
up
have
from
been
there.
going through this step by step. And that's, I really want our listeners to hear what you are describing, because there are many of us who are guilty of not knowing. And there are many of us who are guilty of not wanting to find out of being ashamed, or just because we feel as though we lack the intellect and the understanding. It may sound far-fetched, but there are a lot of people who don't ask questions because they think they don't know enough. And it's, it's always
And
important.
there's a saying, not cutting you, in the Bhagavad Gita, that say, he who knows that he knows not, he's the wise man.
Yes.
Once you say you know, then you have already filled yourself with so much of yourself that there is no space to take in any information. But he who knows that he knows not, then immediately the humility kicks in, and he's willing to be open and ask. And that's the function you and I are playing here now.
And we hope that
for your interest as a young person in articulating some of the things that persons mull around with but cannot express.
I think a lot of us avoid it because it's a scary topic. No one likes to talk about what the latter half of your life is going to be like. So we stay so stuck in the present and we delve into it. Yet when the age starts, kicking up and you pass 40 and then you pass 50 and then it starts presenting itself, that's when the full fear kicks in because it starts becoming a reality. So it's so important for our young listeners as well.
That is encouraging you and reminding you are still alive, you still have vitality, go for it. You would hear the self-talk. Where are I going now with my old self? And that is so debilitating. It keeps you stuck,
And so, Dr. Rouse, I want to thank you so much for being here with us via phone call again today, and we will hear from you next week. How many more sessions do we have? I do believe we may have.
We have March, April, May. Well, we have to ask about that. If it is, this is where you need feedback now.
Of course.
Really from your listeners to know if they want to continue the program, because it was scheduled for 3 months. So the whole of March, whole of April, and whole of May. Right now we are the middle. We have one other Wednesday.
Yeah, so if you want to keep hearing from Dr. Rouse,
as well as the management of a Heartbeat 104.1 has to look now at the statistics to show their listenership and what kind of interest was shown, if so, and if it would warrant continuing.
And we want to remind our listeners to give your feedback. Send us messages on Facebook. You can do so on Heartbeat Radio 104.1 FM.
We can proceed into June.
Yes, and also you can call Belgroves. Dr. Rouse, can you remind me of that number?
Yes, it's 223-2178. Again, it's 223-2178.
And thank
you so much. So by next week, I will speak as if we are finalizing the legal aspect with the will, and where you can get more information through Belgroves when they actually have to start writing and documenting. But right now we are dealing with the self-management of that person in their old age, not to disengage.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rouse. The time is now
welcome.
6 minutes after the 11 o'clock hour, and you can tune in again next Wednesday at 10:40 a.m. for another conversation with Dr. Rouse, courtesy of the Belgroves Group of Companies. We are Heartbeat Radio 104.1 FM, and welcome to hour number 2 of your Wednesday morning's edition of Matters of the Heart. This is Raihana Khan here, captaining your musical ship until 2 o'clock this afternoon. We've got lots more music coming your way this hour from Madonna, Kygo, and Miguel, Quarter Flash, and much, much more. Don't touch your dial.
We plan when we get married. We plan when we buy a car, a house, and when we have our children. We even plan how we save and when we want to retire. Throughout life, we pre-plan for most important things. Doesn't it make sense to do the same for our funeral arrangements? It may seem unpleasant, but it's just good planning. With expert advice from Belgroves' family of professionals, they can help. Call or visit them first in San Fernando, Point Fortin, Chaguanas, Trin City, and Tobago. Or check their website, www.belgroves.com. Or call them 223-2178, 223-2178.
Music, magic, and memories. Heartbeat 104.1. Radio for women and the men who love them.